Hey, here we are, day 20. Okay, so today we're going to give you one of the coolest tools for maintaining meta-awareness. All the work that we've been doing up until now is watching our mind and Watch the Mind Wednesdays and viewing our mind from afar and looking at our equation of emotion, looking at the variables within our equation of emotion and playing with those things all culminate up to this moment of providing you a little bit deeper insight into why that stuff's important and what that's been building up to. And we're also going to now give you a tool that's one of the favorite tools of everyone who's ever met me or not met me and just saw my stuff on the internet. They're like, oh my God, this is the most useful thing I've ever experienced. And today's the day you get to learn that. Okay, so let's talk about that. Day 20 update. The bad news, all your previous life's mental bullshit was optional and you didn't have to suffer as much as you did up to today. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that, but that's true. All of your life's mental BS was optional and you just didn't know it. But the good news is all your future life's mental BS is now optional and you won't be suffering as much as you were going to because you've taken this course. So that's a good part of what we're going to talk about today. Let's get right into it. The basics of separation are that you can't see anything without some sort of separation. And so what we've taught you over the last number of days is how to see your mind, right? We've looked at the mental processes that your mind takes to create negative reactions for you and your emotional reactions to things. And we've taught you about the equation of emotion and the variables that go into that and the idea of your mind's sense of self. And then there's an expectation or preference that automatically comes off your mind's sense of self that says everything has to remain status quo or increase in value. And then on the other side of that equation is your perception, and those two things are measured against each other. And when they're balanced, then you have a positive emotion. When they're imbalanced, you have a negative emotion. And you've been able to see all that. And we've had a number of Watch Your Mind Wednesdays to where we're witnessing that in real time throughout our days. And all of those exercises have been important because they lead up to this point now, which is your awareness is on the right-hand side of that slide. You have been watching your mind from a short distance. So is that awareness, is that your experience of you really your mind? Because when you're able to look back in on your mind from meta-awareness, you have to have a little bit of a distance to be able to see something, right? Because the fact is that a tooth cannot bite itself. An eye can't see itself. It needs to have some type of, even if you're looking in a mirror, there's a distance there between your eye and the reflection of the eye, which is giving you the means to perceive it. But you can't see your eye directly from your eye. There has to be some type of separation. An olfactory nerve can't smell itself. There needs to be some type of separation. And thus, a mind can't watch itself. And so when you're watching your mind from a short distance and you're seeing your mind's reactions by analyzing the equation of emotion review and looking at your expectations and your preferences and looking at your perceptions, and you're seeing these things and you're seeing how to play with your mind in a way that creates a different output from your mind, does that mean you are your mind or that you are something other than your mind? And if you didn't just go, oh my fucking God, please check your pulse. Because that is a huge epiphany for a lot of folks to realize I am not my mind. And we have just shown you through the sequence of logic how it is impossible for you to consider yourself just your mind at this point. Because you're able to look at your mind, you're able to see your mind, you're able to see those processes. And if you can see those processes, you can see your mind in action, you can see your mind at play through meditation, you can see your mind trying to interrupt you through your meditation. You are not your mind because there must be separation between you and whatever you are perceiving, or you cannot perceive it. Again, this slide. The basics of separation dictate if you can see your mind, you are not your mind. And that's huge because that gives you the power to be able to control your mind from this day forward. Now, your mind's activity is your me. Okay? So, your mind does trick you into believing your mind's activity is you. And a lot of times we see ourselves as our mind's activity. We see ourselves as our thoughts. When you have an opinion about something or a thought about something or a reaction about something, you say, well, that's just me. But it's not the truth, right? The me is the activity of the mind and the reactions of the mind and the things that are flushed over you so well that you think you're part of it because it's washing over you. But the reality is you're the thing that's watching all that. Yes, there do become moments where you forget. And there'll be moments in your future where you forget. And you're swept away by whatever reactions your minds have. And then you think that your mind's reactions will be you. And that's just you. But it's not you. That's your mind's me. That's not the thing that I like to call the I, the capital letter I, right? I am not me. The me is the brain. Okay, the me is the actions of your mind trying to help you survive from one day to the next. It is not the awareness from which you can see your mind from a short distance away, and that is critical because that gives you the power not to be your mind, but to have a mind and control that mind anytime you wish. So all of those exercises that we did up for those first 19 days up until now show you. You've already experienced it, that you can see your mind, but that you are not your mind. And so one of the coolest tools that you're going to have moving forward is called the me. And so the rule for the me is, anytime you use the word me, put the word the in front of it. And it's that simple. Anytime you use the word me, just put the word the in front of it. That's the only thing you have to do. It's a very small shift from a vocabulary point of view or from a statement point of view, from a communication point of view to yourself. But it's a huge shift in your mind. So let's look at a couple examples. When you say that makes me angry, say that makes the me angry. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell the me what to do. Oh man, he or she broke up with me. Well, he or she broke up with the me. So what does that do? Well, that creates a little bit of separation. It reminds you of the separation. It doesn't create the separation. It reminds you of the separation of who and what you really are in your mind, which is the observer of your mind and the owner of your mind, the possessor of your mind, the controller of your mind. It reminds you of that. It reminds you to say, I am not the mind. All that stuff over there on the other side is my mind and thus the me. And so when you say the me, boom, big black curtain comes down between you and your mind, and you are no longer mixing the two and confusing the two. You are now the awareness of your mind, the true essence of your being, and you're dealing with the reactions of your mind. So it reminds you of that separation, that you are not your mind. You are not the BS that your mind is creating at the moment. So that now that it's much easier to deal with it. You're not the reactions that your mind's having. You're dealing with the reactions that your mind is having. There's a huge difference there. Identity is huge within your mind. And so when you can identify and feel that you are that existence that is beyond your mind, your awareness within you that is watching the mind from a short distance, that's a huge, huge liberating moment. And it expands your mind. And I think it was Oscar Wilde who said, a mind expanded by an experience can't snap back. It's true. It's true. When you expand your mind just that little bit, say, oh, I'm no longer my mind, that's the me, and you realize you're the awareness of the mind, well then now your mind's definition of self that used to be just your mind, right? Now that has to shift outward. And it has to include the experience of your mind, but then also the thing that's watching your mind. And so from here, boom, now your mind is bigger. And we'll talk about how that affects you from a real psychological sciences perspective in the future days. And you can also read about it in Mind Hacking Happiness version 2, the blue book. But basically, as your pond of self, where you could throw rocks into it and it shakes your boats, as that pond gets bigger out into a lake, out into an ocean, out into a universe, you can throw those same life-size problem rocks and your boats don't rock as much, and you can't even see the ripples anymore because your self has gotten bigger as a result of being able to see your mind and understand your awareness is beyond your mind. Well, now your mind has to expand out because, again, your mind's sense of self, your definition of self in your brain is required. It's a physiological requirement for survival. So it has to have the definition of self completely correct or you could die. And when your mind itself sees that you are not yourself because it can sense the separation between the two, that expands your mind's definition out, and it changes your life forever. And so when you use the tool, the me, by simply putting the word the in front of the word me anytime you use it, even with your self-narrative, you create that, so you remind yourself of that separation of, that's the mind, that's not me. The me is having a problem with this. The me is having a negative emotional reaction because of this. The me is having a situation with this right now. I am not the me. I am not the mind. You're objectifying the thing that's having the response. You're objectifying the thing that is causing the turmoil at the moment. And as a bonus, you probably also need to use the words, change the word I to the me anytime that you say anything I related, right? So I'm upset about that. Well, the me is upset about that. I don't like my boss. The me doesn't like my boss. I wish that were different. The me wishes that was different, right? And what you're doing again is creating the separation that you are not your mind, reminding yourself that if you can see your mind, that is proof. I mean, that's just not just a, hey, let's believe it and kumbaya and let's, all get there. And even though there's no evidence, well, the evidence is everything else in the universe. You cannot perceive something other unless there is some type of separation. And we've shown you over the last 19 days that you can see your mind. You can see your mind's reactions. You can understand your emotional responses. From where? From what? That from where and that from what is the real essence of you. And we'll dig into that a little bit better, but we're talking about understanding the mind, controlling the mind, etc. So we're talking about using the tool of the mind to use it as a can opener, to open itself up and to show you, you aren't your mind. You aren't the reactions of your mind. You aren't the thoughts of your mind. You have those thoughts. Your mind has those thoughts, but that's the me. And using the words the me reminds you of that separation. Okay? And there's a real psychological change that occurs within the mind that changes your emotional output for the rest of your life, connected with that shift. And it's what all the contemplative traditions are all about, is showing you that expansion of mind. It's what all psychedelic drugs are about, is to expand your mind into that space to show you that there is more to you than just the mind's existence of you. And it will change your mind and how it operates from this moment for the rest of your life when you have this realization. And again, if you didn't go just, oh my fucking God, please check your pulse. Because what we just showed you is a complete shift in what you thought was you yesterday, in your mind, in your mind's reactions, in your mind's emotions, in your mind's thoughts, and all of the things that happened up until this moment. We now showed you scientifically that's not you. And this tool of the me helps remind you it's not you every day that you use it. You don't have to say, he hurt me, or, that makes me angry. You say, he hurt the me, or she hurt the me. And that makes the me angry. Now that gives you a little bit of separation. Now a big black curtain comes down between you and your mind's reactions. Takes you out of the equation a little bit. Puts a little bit of distance between you and the negative stuff that's going on over here. Gives you control, puts you in meta-awareness. Now you can take control of your mind. Who's showing you how to be a mind master? Boom! I am. I love you, people. Homework. Practice the me for the next few weeks. Anytime you want to use the word me, just put the word the in front of it. And it's that simple. It's the simplest tool to get you back into meta-awareness and to separate you from whatever's going on in your mind. Anytime you want to use the word I, especially in your self-narrative, or maybe even talking to people who you're sharing this course with, say the me. The me thinks. Rather than to say, I think that that's bullshit, say, the me thinks that that's bullshit. It will create the separation in your mind that reminds you, you are not your mind. And that's critical, because when you understand that, you're able to go from being on the leash of your mind to having your mind on that leash. And that is the whole ball game. That's the whole ball game, that and practice of it over time. Get your 10,000 hours in and you are master of your mind. Okay? I hope this message finds you well. I hope you were able to glean what I hope you're gleaning from it. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if it can be better. Love you guys. Talk to you in a couple of days. I'm going to give you a couple of days to chew on this. Talk to you soon.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain.
When you die, on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness. I'm not trying to sell you on this idea in the sense of converting you to it. I want you to play with it. I want you to think of its possibilities. I'm not trying to prove it. I'm just putting it forward as a possibility of life to think about.
Welcome to Mind Hacking Happiness. Calm the fuck down and take your seats.
The only way to get rid of it is to accept it as it is right now.
Some people say a science of consciousness is impossible. I think that we may need one or two ideas that initially seem crazy before we can come to grips with consciousness.
Gunga, gunga, gunga.